Hi, I'm Justin with Family Graphics, and this is a video on how to apply our wall decals. This wall decal is pretty big, so it comes on one sheet that you have to separate and includes instructions with actually a layout of how it'll look on the wall. The picture on the left is how it will look once it's up. The one on the right is what you received, like what's laying on the table. First step you want to do after you unpack the decal is go through the instructions that are provided. Make sure you read all those. And then you're going to want to lay your decal out on a floor or table, any kind of flat surface. And then just go over it with a credit card or a squeegee or anything. And what that's going to do, you just want to rub everything down. And what that's going to do is help it adhere to this transfer tape. The decal's 3 pieces. You've got this top sheet, which is kind of like masking tape. It's called transfer tape. You have this piece, which is called the backing. And then when you peel it, you have this white, which is the actual decal that will stick to the wall. And what we want to do is rub the transfer tape down. That'll just make applying it easier later. So once you go through and rub everything down, we want to separate the pieces. And if you look at our chart that came with it, it's colored. So basically, the top piece is this yellow piece, and that's on our far side. So it's the first piece right there, and we're going to separate all those pieces with scissors. And to make it easier, you can number the pieces before you separate them. Okay, you can see I numbered all the pieces before I cut them out. And all that does is make it easier later when you go to look for the right piece to put on next. And I also numbered my chart so they match. So 1 is up there. You know, and so on. So that way, once they're cut out, you don't have to dig around and you end up putting the wrong piece in the wrong place. Alright, the next step is cutting all the pieces out. Basically, you can cut it anywhere you want. You just don't want to cut the white areas. Okay, you can see I cut the decal into separate pieces, so we got a bunch of individual decals that we can arrange on the wall where we want them. So with this step, not every decal we sell needs to be cut into individual pieces. A lot of them are going to be one solid piece. It all comes as one image. It just depends on the size of the decal. The listing will specify whether or not it's multiple sheets or needs to be cut and placed on the wall. Some of them you'll be able to just unpack it, smooth it down, and place it on the wall, and you won't have to worry about this step. It's all got to do with the size. So, alright, well, let's go start putting this on the wall. Alright, the next step you want to do is clean the wall where you're going to be putting the decal. I have a Windex wipe, but you can use just paper towels and Windex, and you just want to wipe down the area where the decal is going to be and make sure you get everything off of it so there's no dust or dirt. These decals are also made to stick on painted drywall and smooth and semi-textured surfaces. They won't stick on brick or concrete. Or if your wall is really chalky, if you can rub your hand across it and the color of the paint's on your fingers, it won't stick. If that's the case and you accidentally ordered, you can go ahead and return the decal as long as it hasn't been applied. Okay, and you can see what I do is I hang the layout on the wall next to where I'm putting it on. That way it's just easier to look at. And what you want to do is start with your bottom decals first. You get those where you want them. So, what we got at the bottom is 4 and 9, which are the ones we labeled earlier. So, what I have is just masking tape. And all I'm going to do is tape these in place right across the tops of them for now. You can always move them around once we get everything taped up there. I'm going to put one see what it looks like. And our other one is 9. And what you can do is go back later, and if there's extra blue in your way, you can just trim it off with scissors before we go to the next step. Okay, so hopefully you can see that in the camera. So what I did is I got our first 2 pieces up. I'm going to go ahead and tape everything else to the wall, and then I'll get on to the next step. Okay, you can see we got everything taped to the wall and laid out the way we want it, which is our layout's right there. So right now it doesn't look like much, but it'll look good once we start putting the pieces on. What you want to do is make sure where the blue is close to each other that it doesn't overlap. So you can see how none of that blue overlaps itself. Okay, let me reposition the camera and I'll show you how you do the application. Okay, I'm going to start with this big top flower, and what we're going to do is, depending on how you put on your masking tape, you can reposition it so it's across the top area, and we're going to use it like a hinge. And what you do, let me make sure the camera's going to get this. Might be higher than what we need here. There we go. We're going to flip this up so it's like a hinge. And at the tape area, we're just going to keep this backing paper tight to the wall. We don't want to pull it. You don't want to pull out. You want to take and start at the corner and go at a 45-degree angle, keeping it tight to the wall, just like this. So you can see I got the transfer, or the backing pressed right up against the wall. Okay, so now that's off. We're just going to drop that piece. And then what we want to do is keep this held out a little bit, and then just slowly let it come down. And then you want to start in the middle at the top and just get this thing going in the right direction. Okay, now you can just let it come right down. And what we're going to do is we're going to start in the middle and we're going to work out to the sides. Just like this. And what I have here is basically the same kind of card as like a credit card's made out of. You can use a squeegee, a driver's license, anything. And we just want to rub that down real good. You want to press firm. Okay, so that's all rubbed down. You really want to pay attention to those little corners, the points. Now what I'm going to do is show you how to remove this transfer tape. So we're going to take our masking tape off of this piece. And I always want to pick a corner where there's a wide area. If I start here, there's not much decal, so there's not really much to stick to the wall at the very point. But if I start pulling at this corner and pull into this big fat area, I shouldn't have too much of a problem. And we're going to do the same thing with as we did with the backing paper. You want to keep it tight to the wall. You don't want to pull out. And you just want to go slow and you want to watch. If your decal starts to lift with the transfer tape, you just want to go back over it. But it doesn't take much. Like you can see right here, at this little point I was talking about, it started to lift. So we just need to help it back down. And really what you can do is do it from 2 ways and start and get that fat area off, and that'll help. And you just want to keep it tight. Okay, and then if you see any air bubbles, you could take an X-Acto knife or pop it or just work it out. So you can see there's our one decal done. Now I can show you a trick with the longer ones. If you put a piece of tape in the middle, it'll work like a hinge. So we can deal with half of the decal instead of the long straight piece, and I'll show you what I mean. So what I'm going to do is, because we have this piece in the middle, I'm going to take this piece off the top, and I'm going to let it flop down right onto that piece. Okay. And I don't know if you can see my hands yet. I think you can. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pull the backing off the transfer tape, not the other way around, and you want to keep it tight. And what I'm going to do is just get a little bit of that out, and I'm going to rip the backing. So you can see I've got a piece of decal and it's missing half of the backing because I ripped it off. And what I'm going to do is the same thing. Take my card, squeegee, whatever you're using, and just go right up it. So now it's stuck in place, and we can remove the other piece of tape and go the rest of the way down. Or you can keep working in sections like that if it's easier. Okay, I don't know if you guys saw how I did that, but I've been doing it for a while, so that's pretty easy for me. You might want to stick to the first way I mentioned, or you can do it like that, and then you want to rub it down and peel it off. I'll go ahead and do the rest of the decal, and then we'll see how it looks. Alright, there's the finished product. If you have any questions or problems, don't hesitate to contact us. Thanks again for your purchase.